Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers,
Hey everybody, and welcome to another episode of There's Still Time, the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam Territory at the University of beautiful British Columbia. I'm Michael McCall.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenhower.
And we're back. We've been away for 3 weeks. Well, I've been away for 3 weeks. And I didn't bring a microphone with me back to Scotland. And I did one East Fife podcast over there through my Chromebook, and the sound was terrible. So I thought, we'll just wait till I get back. Give us lots of fun things to chat about. And yeah.
Why didn't you just nick a microphone for when you were covering East Fife, doing the broadcast?
I did toy with that idea, and then I watched the games, and I didn't want to ruin my trip. We did get a tweet from Smoke City FC tonight who said, "Talk about your trip to Scotland. That will likely be a lot more interesting than any Whitecaps chat. Either that or just play a rerun of a show from earlier in the season because the issues seem to remain the same."
Ouch.
So, yeah, ouch, but very true. So we will actually start off by talking about my trip back to Scotland. It's just Zach and me tonight. I'm back from my trip. Steve's away on a trip just now. He's on a boat. Yeah. You were on a boat today. I feel left out. I've not been on a boat. Oh, is it yesterday?
Yes, yesterday. Yeah.
Oh, did you come back last night as well?
Yeah, I went out yesterday, came back last night.
So yeah, Steve's away. So we will get the three of us together at some point before the end of the season again, I'm pretty sure. But yeah, we'll be talking Whitecaps. We'll look back over the last 4 games to varying degrees, have a look around MLS West, talk about Lucas Cavallini. That was a fun thing I woke up to on Sunday morning. And yeah, just some general chat as well. But we're going to start things off by looking at my little trip back to Scotland. Was back for just over 2 weeks. Came back on Monday night. I made it back safe and sound. My bags didn't. Both of them got damaged, and one of them lost a wheel. And the new suitcase that I had just bought 3 days before completely bashed in. So that was a nice trip back, but overall, it was a good little trip back to Scotland. Now, I hadn't really mentioned to many people as to why I was going back. So we had hoped to do some shows, as I said. So apologies for not bringing some shows out. But it was a very, very busy trip. Bit of fun, bit not so fun. Some of you will know, some won't. But my mum passed away a few weeks ago now during the League One BC season. So I didn't really want to go back during the season. I'd made the commitments to do the season, so I wanted to see the season out. And by delaying going back as well, it meant I could get back for seeing some East Fife games, get over to the Edinburgh Fringe for the first time in 15 years, get to see a couple of my favourite bands and former Artists of the Month at the Connect Festival as well. So although it was sad going back to deal with all the stuff to do with my mum and sorting things out with my dad, one thing that happened with my dad, he got scammed or fraudulent stuff on his bank account. Somebody defrauded him for £14,000. but he managed to get all that back. So that was the busy side of the trip. So it didn't leave a lot of time for doing some podcasts. Got to see 2 East Fife games. They won both of them. And it almost felt like we were watching the Whitecaps, because the first game they won with a stoppage time penalty. And I thought, oh, my team's just like to leave it late. Second East Fife game I was at, I got to do something I've wanted to do for a long time, which was actually do some commentary on an East Fife game. Co-commentary on their Challenge Cup game against St Johnstone B. No, Theo Bair wasn't playing. He's still St Johnstone A for now. They have made quite a lot of new additions, so I think Theo Bair may be going down the pecking order a bit there. But when I left in 2007, East Fife TV wasn't really a thing. Now it's great, and you can watch all the games, and I actually got to commentate on a game, so that was like a bucket list thing. I really enjoyed that. It was great fun.
We were excited for you. Yeah, really sad about why you had to go back, but yeah, excited for the fun you got to have while you were there.
Yeah, and the Edinburgh Fringe has always been a big part of my life. I used to take a couple of weeks off every year to go over to shows, and it's one of the things I really, really miss from being over here. It's just Edinburgh just comes alive for the whole month. The population triples, and there's, for anyone that doesn't know what the Edinburgh Fringe is, it's the biggest arts festival in the world. There's lots of comedy, there's plays, there's music, there's just tons of different things on. Anything that can get turned into a venue gets turned into a venue. So I think I saw about 15 shows altogether. One of them was a football-based show as well, and it's a shame we don't have Steve on tonight, because it was a show kind of centred around Eric Cantona, and it was a female comedian called Bryony, and she had put this show on about how when she was at primary school, she was a big football fan. She was a Man United fan. She played for the football team. But then when she moved to high school, girls weren't allowed to play football. So she started to lose her love for football. So this was just her revisiting her childhood and how things have changed now, how the women's game's really taken off. She'd planned this show before England won the Euros as well. So the timing of it was fantastic. But it was a really good show. And there was a number of different football shows on at the Fringe. And I was the only one I really got to take in, but saw some good comedians as well. Got to see Mogwai and Idlewild at the Connect Festival. I'm probably come back. I'll be speaking a lot quicker. My accent will probably be a lot thicker. I'll probably be using the C word a lot more. That's just what happens when you go away to Scotland for a couple of weeks. But we'll mark the show explicit. It'll be good.
Wait.
We'll be talking about the C word in part 4.
By the C word, of course, you mean Cowdenbeath.
No, I mean Cava. Yeah, Cowdenbeath. They're not a league club anymore. They got relegated out of the league last year, so we don't even think about them anymore.
I like your 4-letter C word, Cava. That's a good one.
Yes. But yeah, everything. It was a fun trip. Last thing I'll mention is my flight back. I have to tell you about Megan. So now you're intrigued. Did I join the Mile High Club? No. So I'm sitting in my seat, getting on early, priority boarding in my luxury flight seat that I had. And then this girl kind of stands and she's looking around, and she's there with her mum, and she's like 66E, and she's just standing looking around, and folk are impatiently waiting behind her. So I said, "Oh, that's beside me," and she just kind of looked like all confused, and she thought she had an aisle seat, but she was in the middle of the three, and she didn't want to sit there, so she didn't know what to do, and was trying to ask her mum what she should do, and her mum said, "I told you we should have spoken to them before you got on the flight." So then the mum says to me, "Do you mind not sitting in the aisle and sitting in the middle?" I was like, "Oh yes, I very much do." And it felt like no one had ever said no to Megan before. She looked appalled, and then after, again, just standing in silence for 30 seconds while the queue's building up behind her, said, "Well, you're going to let me into my seat then?" I went, "Oh, have you finally made your mind up what you're doing?"
Oh no.
And then the mum's like, wow. And then she says, do you feel comfortable sitting there? And she's like, no, I don't. So they swapped seats so that she didn't have to sit beside me.
Was Megan's mom nice to you?
I don't know. I put my headphones on. She was one of those chatty folk. I had no time for her.
Oh man.
Ah, Canadians. But anyway, that was my trip. What have you been up to the last 3 weeks?
Man, it's so much. So much. It's been a crazy month at work getting ready for September. Kind of not renovating, but doing some upgrades to a room that I used to be pre-pandemic used to use multiple times a week, and so we're with uh with no more physical spacing restrictions. I'll be using this room a lot, and so we've been painting and yeah, just getting it ready and making it new and fresh and all these kinds of things. So lots to do with that. Family got away for a couple of days, went down to Middle Cascadia, did some shopping, went to the zoo down there.
Seattle Zoo. I take it it's Seattle Zoo.
Yeah, the
Yeah.
Woodland
Yeah,
Park.
it's a really good zoo. I like it.
It is. It's not huge, but the yeah, you can definitely. It's like a football club. You can see the investment that's put into the place. And actually, you know what? The more I think about it, the Greater Vancouver Zoo and the Woodland Park Zoo, they're kind of yeah, they're not that dissimilar to the
Yeah.
football club.
There's
You
a
know,
very good analogy. Yes.
because like the Vancouver Zoo has some nice things, but like
I've
the
never been because I've just heard some bad things about it.
well, it has some nice animals, but like
Well,
the
when they can keep them locked up.
well, when anti-zoo people or whatever are not breaking in and release them, yeah. But no, like some of their places, because it was, and there, I think like the real zoo here used to be at the down where the aquarium is, right before it got shut down. But a number of their larger display areas are like just cages, right? Like big giant or big fenced in things. Whereas Woodland Park is like very well. It reminds me of the Toronto Zoo, although not nearly as big and spacious and whatever. But like,
Oh, I've been there as well. Calgary Zoo I like as well.
I don't think I haven't done that one yet. I've done.
Oh, I
I've done.
took Caitlin up the Panda Passage.
Oh my. I've done Berlin, Stuttgart, Wuppertal, and then the bigger one in Chicago, Toronto. Yeah, I haven't done Calgary.
I highly
One day,
recommend it. It's
one
very
day.
good.
But yeah, it was quite a nice zoo. The kids loved it. My daughter got to do it was the week of her birthday, and she has aspirations, which might change, but of being like a zoologist, zookeeper, and so we did like an encounter with the rhino where you get a close up encounter and you get to feed them and whatever. It was a lot of fun. She like it was very special for her, so that was great.
Did you get the horn?
No, no. What else did we do? Well, yeah. Then this week got to go watch the boys on the island play, which was a fun game to watch, but obviously extremely
Mm.
discouraging for the Islanders.
Yeah, they are. They're in for it tough. It's like PDS is making a good little run there with Valor.
Yeah, and speaking of good runs, Brett Levi, wow,
Oh,
what a goal!
yes. Yeah, that was a cracker today. I saw 3 games overall on my trip back because I saw the 2 East 5 games, and then the the last Saturday before I came home, East Fife were away to Stranraer, which basically driving from Fife to Stranraer, I'm almost back in Canada. It's like the furthest west it could be in Scotland. So I didn't go to that one. I decided to stay in Fife, and I saw a Scottish Cup preliminary round match between Dundonald Bluebell and Tayport. It was a good game. I got a pie. Had never been to that ground before. But at the end of the game, the Tayport fans were a bit aggrieved at the refereeing. And being there as a neutral, I actually thought the ref had a good game. So we're waiting to get out, and then we had to stop because the referee was going up the tunnel. This Tayport fan has her drink and throws it all over the referee, who got out of the way a little bit, and then some of the drink went over me. That's classy, classy, classy Scottish lower league football.
Oh my. And what did you say to that? What did you say to that?
Oh, obviously, I chased her, tripped her up, kicked shit out of her. Yeah, just typical Fife reaction.
But at least you didn't do that to Megan.
No, I didn't want to be in the no-fly zone.
Oh, yeah.
No, she, like, the Dundonald officials were trying to get a hold of her. She scarpered. She, like, just turned around and then fled. But, yeah, classy stuff in Fife. But we're not here to talk about that. I think we've wasted time just putting off talking about the Whitecaps, because there's been 4 Whitecaps games since our last show. Very much a mixed bag of results. You could say it's been a slippery slope and things have gone down pretty fast from the start of it. We're not going to delve into all the games. Our last show came out 3 weeks ago after the 5-2 hammering by the Galaxy. A potentially important loss in the grand scheme of things, considering the logjam in the West. Doesn't seem that important now with how things have subsequently followed that. A veritable mixed bag for the Whitecaps. We've seen the good, the bad, the ugly, and the very ugly of the team in general, really. The first game, a Ryan Gauld double, gave the Whitecaps 2-1 home win over Colorado. It moved the team above the playoff line for the first and only time so far this season. I'm going to stick my neck out here and say the only time this season. It was a good win. It was a crucial win. Goldie, I thought, was excellent in that. And it was a game, Zach, that the team really should have pushed on from, but it's been the opposite.
Yeah, I think that's a fair way to think about it. It was a game they had to win. It was a game where their best player was the best player and helped them, clinch the match, win the match. And you're right, it should have been something that gave them impetus going forward and enabled them to continue to take the points that they so desperately need. But they they haven't done as well as they could have or and definitely should have since then.
No, I mean, you work so hard to get yourself in that position. I mean, it was still not really in their own hands by that point, but it was very, very close to being, because other teams had games in hand, etc., etc. But I mean, you've got yourself into 7th, and it feels no time ago at all that I was looking at the table and getting a little bit carried away and saying, look, 3rd and 4th place and a home playoff game is within the team's grasp. That now seems far, far away from anything. It's just been a dramatic change. I mean, the game after the Colorado game, it wasn't a bad game. It was a battling 1-0 draw at Real Salt Lake. It felt like a good result at the time. Julian Gressel got that goal in the 87th minute. It capped off another fighting to the death performance from the team. I kind of feel the Whitecaps could have come away with that with a victory, but I mean, ultimately you've got a point on the road. You've taken 4 from 6, and you're still feeling not bad. You've dropped out of the playoff places, but you're still in there.
Yeah. It wasn't so bad, and it wasn't so bad, but it did feel like two significant drop points, right? Like if they wanted, I mean, forget about the 3rd and 4th place that you were dreaming about before. If they were wanting, 7th, that felt like a game where they really needed to not leave points on the table, and unfortunately they did. I mean, Gressel did really well to make sure they didn't walk away empty-handed, but Yeah, I think it's one of the moments in this portion of the season that Banny and the staff will look back on extremely disappointed in.
Yeah, I think there's several games that they can look back and be extremely disappointed in, and that brings us to Nashville.
Yeah.
Yeah. Uh, we've got to the ugly and the very ugly part of these games, and we'll talk about Cava in the last part. That's the very ugly part of that Nashville game. But an abysmal 3-0 loss to Nashville, I think is the only way really to describe it. Having gone there and come away with a very good 1-all draw, to then capitulate the way they did at home, it beggars belief. I mean, the visitors came, they ran the show. Hani Mukhtar, class act in the league. They ran the show. Cava should probably be run out of town for what he did, and we will talk about that, as I say, later on. But the defending again in that match, that first goal by Liao, they just let him run, 50, 60 yards with no one going towards him, and then let him get a shot off. It nestles in the bottom corner. I think Hassal should have kept it out, but just all in all, why would you just let a guy power forward like that? And it stems from a giveaway as well, but just nobody went near him.
Yeah, there's been a lot of defensive frailties with the Whitecaps throughout the season, and it feels like they've never like fully got it right. But yeah, I mean, there have been so many things that just feel inexcusable like that, where they've allowed players to run free and they've suffered the consequences. And this is a game where that once again was true.
Well, 4 minutes after that, they're two down, and it's another goal where an opponent is allowed to rise unchallenged, get to the ball, head home. 4 minutes after half time, two players manage to rise and head the ball on the goal to head home, and it's 3-0. You're 45 minutes on the clock. You're at home. Thankfully, I didn't watch the game live. Thankfully, I didn't watch the game in full. I only woke up the next morning and watched the highlights, and I had a message from Har going, I don't think you're going to want to watch this. And
Yeah,
it's like, oh, well, spoiler then.
did Steve and I not send you some messages about this one?
Possibly as well. It's like, I think I'll just watch the minimum highlights I can get away with. I ended up going with the 7 minutes. I should just have settled for the 4, I think.
I think I try not to ruin it for you, where I said, "Oh, Cava," or the peak Cava, or something like that.
Yeah, I could imagine what had happened. I didn't imagine it was as bad as what happened, but I thought, oh, he's done something stupid and got himself sent off. Well, he certainly did that. But they fought after going down to 10 men, and Hassal saved the late penalty, and they had one that came off the post. But since June 26th, the Caps have dropped 11 points at home. 2 to New England, 3 to Minnesota, 3 to Chicago, 3 to Nashville. It's unforgivable. And no one seems to know why. So I'm hoping you can give me the answer.
Why they've dropped points at home to all those teams?
Yeah. Why is no team looking at the schedule and going, oh no, we're going to Vancouver this weekend? They'll probably be going, oh, we're going to Vancouver this weekend.
Well, they do say that about the playing surface, but
Yeah, true.
Yeah,
But we're not exactly a scary place to come at the moment, are we?
no. But I think it goes back to what you said about early in this game. I think the defending just has not been great. I can't remember now. The Nashville, was that a game that Jake started?
I think it
Yeah.
was.
I just, he continues to rotate at the back there when I don't think there's the need to.
No.
It continues to show that that's not working. And again, even though I understand the reasons why, to me, it continues to show that maybe aside from the financial upside, if there was some, which maybe there wasn't, but the getting rid of Eric Godoy at this point, like I think if he was able to play 3 more games this year, it would have been better than rotating the way they have.
Yeah. And that kind of brings us very nicely to tonight's match. And the Whitecaps.
We're going to talk about Cava more later?
Oh yeah, we're definitely talking
okay,
about Cava.
yeah.
In part 4, we're going to talk about Cava. That could be the whole part, to be honest.
Because there's a lot to talk about.
Yeah. But yeah, so I mean, this sets us up now to talk about tonight's match. We're recording this on Sunday night after the loss down in San Jose. The worst team in the West. That's San Jose I'm talking about, in case, just to clarify. The second worst in all of MLS at that stage is who the Whitecaps were facing. What could go wrong? Well, let's chat about that after this.
Hey, I am Axel Schuster, and I'm listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Wenn ich all die Bilder sehe, dann denk ich nur an dich. Wie du gestern auf mir saßt, Gott, war das widerlich. Dein Geruch, der noch an mir klebt, der ist jetzt überall. Und schon klingelt mein Telefon, du willst mich noch einmal. Du bist wie ein Hurricane, der sich durch mein Leben zieht. Ohne Rast und Gefühl, ziehst du mich immer wieder zu dir. Du bist wie ein Hurricane, der sich durch mein Leben zieht. Und du weißt ganz genau, ich kann dir niemals wieder entkommen. Friss mich aus.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And because we've not had a show for the last couple of weeks, I didn't get to play all of the Electric Callboy songs that I had wanted as our Artist of the Month for August, so I've sneaked another one in there. It's their new single. I tweeted this out, and I know some of you have watched the video for it. You've just heard the song. I played a big chunk of it there, almost the whole song, because I love it, and it's very different. Two songs in one, and the video is tremendous. I don't want to say any more because I don't want to spoil it for you, but it starts off on a boat.
Oh, like Steve.
Yeah, it's how I imagine Steve's weekend has gone, to be honest. But that was Electric Callboy, Hurricane, taken from their upcoming 2022 album Techno that comes out on September 9th. Hope you've enjoyed them this month. I've had some good feedback from folk for it, so make sure you get the album, check out their other stuff. Very good band from Germany. We're going to have our new Artist of the Month for September. They're going to be kicking off part 3, and we're going to Russia for them. Actually, the last 2 songs we've got to kick off our final 2 parts, 2 Russian bands. One of them is tying in with my experience at the Edinburgh Fringe as well, but we'll come to that in part 4. In this part, we're going to talk about the latest Whitecaps game. San Jose Earthquakes 2, Vancouver Whitecaps 0. Is that the season over with a whimper, Zach?
I mean, technically, they could still come third, Michael, mathematically.
Yes, that would need a lot of results to go in their
But
favor.
yeah, it doesn't feel like they're gonna win whatever the 5 or 6 games that they have left.
Well, considering when we broke down the
You're
fixtures a
five.
few weeks ago, I said I don't see them taking anything from the last three games.
Yeah. Um, yeah, it doesn't seem like that's gonna happen. Uh, I I'm sure when the 34th game is played and we're reflecting on the year as a whole, there'll be questions about Voyageurs Cup hangover type things within the overall for the players or whatever.
Yeah, every time I go
Um,
into the Whitecaps Twitter, their pinned tweet is, "We can't stop thinking about Tuesday night." And I'm
yeah,
thinking maybe you should stop thinking about it
yeah,
and kind
yeah,
of concentrate on what you've got coming up.
yeah. But no, I mean, uh, we've talked a lot about how they could, potentially, um, uh, do what they did last year in terms of
Mm,
just, hey, all they need to do now is just focus on treating every game like a final or whatever, and like their focus is very singular, and but I don't think that I see it. It seems virtually impossible that they would be able to run the table and qualify for the playoffs. But I mean, stranger things have happened.
yeah, but the way I look at it, if you go to San Jose and you play against what was a very poor San Jose team, and you come away with that on the end of a 2-goal defeat, the teams that you're coming up against in these last 5 games, you're not, without some miracle change of playing style and actually finding somebody that can put the ball in the net, you're not going to get those points done. But we'll
No,
come to that when we look at the table and stuff
no,
in the
no,
next part. But
no betting person will put money on it.
no, the odds for us to win the MLS Cup that came out this past week, I think, would drop down to 100-1. We were like the fourth least likely to win the MLS Cup. So yeah, let's we won't delve into the game too much. I want to talk about some other aspects from performances really from the game. But if we look at the goals, 4 minutes in, and talked about the Nashville game, just allowing Leal just to just run, not bother. Cade Cowell waltzed through the Whitecaps half, leaving 2 Whitecaps on their asses. It was like a knife through butter, to do a callback to Craig McEwen from the very first Whitecaps season. I mean, Cade Cowell just made the Whitecaps look stupid. It was a slip by Javane Brown. He wasn't the only player to slip tonight. Vanny points that out after the game. There's a lot of players that slipped tonight, so I guess footwear, wet pitch, whatever. But he just danced through the Whitecaps, squared the ball, takes the touch, runs through to Ibobisi, just inside the box.
Yeah, Vanny talked about this a bunch in the post game I listened to part of the radio stuff post game. I didn't hear you, so but
I don't know if they know I'm back. I'll keep it
yeah,
that way.
yeah. But no, I heard some of Vanny's post game comments on the radio, and he talked about, because he was asked about that, and it was like, okay, like, yeah, the surface was kind of hard, but yeah, he's like, I wouldn't be surprised if after the warm ups they came out and watered the pitch a bunch. And it's like, yeah, okay, sure, but like you got to adapt to that. You got to, if you're not wearing the appropriate footwear, you change it, right? Like,
Mm.
I know obviously the goal came quite early,
Yeah.
but
4 minutes in, it's hard to know what footwear you want.
yeah, well, yeah, but yeah, Brown looked not great on it, and
I mean,
Cal
I always struggle. I always want to call him
Ebobisse?
Ibobisi, but yeah, 15th goal this season. He took it well.
Yeah, they paid like what, a million in GAM for him.
Mm.
aside from the fact that they are where they are in the standings, I mean, he's gotten the goal. He's gotten goals.
It's crazy that you've got a 15 goal man and you're down the bottom of the table like that.
Yeah, that is crazy.
I mean, the Whitecaps. I was going to say the Whitecaps offered very little. San Jose also offered very little, to be honest. It wasn't a great first half at all. Gold had a shot that went kind of straight at JT Marcinkowski. Ranko had a header from a Gressel corner. The keeper kind of juggled a little bit and then recovered. I mean, at 1-0, you still thought, well, it's a poor San Jose team. The Whitecaps are going to do their thing. But then 34th minute, they're 2 down. Jamiro Montero just, again, runs unchecked to get to the edge of the box. Christian Espinoza looks up, goes, oh, there's a man. Just play it inside to him. Tucks it away.
Yeah, generally with a player with a name like that, you don't want to leave them, that free.
But he ran, I would say, 30 yards probably, just totally unchecked. It's just 3 goals in 2 games. They've just had a guy just run, and nobody's like, oh, there's a guy running.
Yeah, if Steve were here, he would talk about something about zonal marking. I'm
Yeah.
sure.
Do we have zones? That's what I need to know. I mean, the Whitecaps really rode their luck after that, because they could have gone down 3 or 4 behind in at the half, because Carroll nearly made it 3 just a couple of minutes later, and Hassal
fire.
Hassal just put his hands up at the near post and it kind of parried away. Espinoza hit one wide. Then, just to compound a horrible half for the Whitecaps, Gold gets a yellow card, which was clearly born out of frustration. It was a little tug, stupid thing to get a booking for, and he's now going to miss the next game at Colorado. If he'd seen through this game without a booking, he would have had a reprieve, but now he's missing out. The guy that's been the best player by a mile for the Whitecaps over the last few weeks.
That's pretty horrible, eh? Like, yeah.
He must be frustrated. I thought that several times tonight watching the game, where he was just working his socks off and just nothing was happening, nothing was coming off. And I think even the referee felt sorry for the Whitecaps, because he blew up for half-time a few seconds before the 45 minutes. No time added on, can't even be bothered playing the last 3 seconds of the half. Let's just blow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And the Whitecaps did blow. And, I mean, the post-game comments, we'll come to the post-game comments, but it felt like I was watching a different game.
Yes. Yeah.
I mean, it was a good second half from the Whitecaps. I will give them that. But then we always have our end of season awards, and sometimes I struggle to think, oh, what was that? What's a good one for that again? I mean, we always have miss of the year. Ryan White, just before the hour mark for me, I think may have won it for this year. That was a shocker for a guy that was your main man last year, and he's out of form. He's not the Brian White that we saw last year. I think we all expected that. It was put to him on a plate, and it was just like a half-assed effort, and it just meekly went wide. And that's the kind of thing that can be a game changer. That goes in with just over half an hour to go, and you fancy the Whitecaps can do something. But it kind of just summed up their whole night, really.
Yeah, I mean, his season has been kind of what I kind of thought it was going to be. Like, I thought he was not going to be able to repeat what he did last year. And yeah, I mean, you have to score that opportunity, right? Like in that game at this level, that time and space, you have to bury that. And it was. Yeah,
he looked so dejected. His head just went down. He knew that himself.
Yeah, it was. Yeah, he knew it was a poor finish. Like you can't you you can't not take advantage of opportunities like that. And yeah, I mean, it it could have like in one sense you could say that was the turning point in the game, right? Like
Hmm.
if I think if that
I think
like
that's very fair to say that because I would have fancied them to go on to at least get a point out of it, which
yeah,
I still
because
don't think would have been enough. But
they've shown so much resilience, in games, and I think that yeah, that could have helped them because they didn't create a lot of great chances, but they created they created some openings,
well,
and you
yeah,
think that
like
that could have
Gold
turned the game.
curled one wide. Gressel had a shot that was well blocked or saved by Maracinkowski that was quite out from his goal. Blackman had the ball in the net, but he was offside.
Oh yeah, yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I mean, they played some nice passing stuff, and they were the better team in the second half. They had more shots than San Jose, but they're just lacking that kind of clinical striker. If only we had like an international quality striker that we know can score goals. If only we had somebody like that that would have been maybe available tonight.
Yeah, I mean, even if they said Kai Kamara tonight,
Yes.
which
Uh,
we'll talk about that later. But no, I know. Yeah, obviously trying to segue into some Cava.
yeah.
Sorry, are we allowed
But
allowed to say?
we're saving that for the final part.
Yeah, yeah. Are we allowed to say that word? I don't.
Oh, the C word, yeah. I, I've marked it explicit, it's fine. But I mean, that was basically the game. And like after the game, I just read you some of the comments from the, not from the radio, but from the post game media
Yeah,
call that Vanny did. And he said there's a lot of frustration in the team. He said to them last week that he wanted a response in terms of attitude, in terms of fighting spirit, in terms of trying to do the thing that we do, which I'm not quite sure what that thing that we do is, but
that was a good movie or that was a good song, right? With the Tom
everything
Hanks.
I do it
No,
for
no,
you.
I
No,
heard that song today. Actually, no,
oh,
that thing you do, Tom Hanks, the band. Do you remember
oh, I don't remember that.
that? Da, da, da.
Maybe Vanny heard that as well then. But he says tonight we tried. That's all you can ask for from your team, isn't it? We're a bunch of triers. If we're a rugby team, being a bunch of triers would be a good thing, really. But he said we tried to do it, and he said for this side, I don't want to say I'm satisfied, but I'm okay with the performance. That baffles
Yeah,
me because I thought it was a terrible performance.
yeah. I don't know about terrible, but it
Well,
was
first half was terrible.
yeah. But you can say there's elements of the performance that show positive signs, but you can't have that performance in a game that you have to win.
No, you also shouldn't be showing positive signs 28 games into a season. You say about a team, oh, well, it's the first month of the season, there's positive signs.
Right, right. That's fair too. Yeah.
We said that about East Fife in the podcast we did this morning. It's like, we're 6 games in, there's positive signs, we're third in the table. That's what you say at that stage. Not, oh, it's 28, we're 10th. There's positive signs. It's very frustrating. And the fans do seem to be losing a little bit of patience, I think, with Vanny as well. And with some of the players. Russell Tybert continues to get a lot of stick, and Vanny has spoken up defending Russell against the online trolls, and there was some more of it tonight. And
Yeah.
I'm not wanting to pile on to Russell here, just before you say anything, Zach, but I've said this for a while, and I still say this. If we are a team in 2022 where Russell Tybert is your regular starter, our recruitment has not worked in the years that we've been in MLS.
No, not at all. It's not about piling on. I think too that comment about the internet trolls or whatever, like it you can defend your players, you can defend your captain in ways I think that are more appropriate and more meaningful than to call some of your fans internet trolls, because the people who, I'm sorry, as I read the situation, a number of the people who have expressed concern over, Rusty's place in the squad and the starting 11, these are not all just, this is not like, uh casual fans. Like, these are like
Yeah.
people who are passionate about the football club and long for the best of the football club, and it's plain to them, it's plain to see to them that, Rusty starting as much as he has and playing as big of a role as he has does not, help the football club progress results wise.
Yeah. Well, here's a tweet from Chris Corrigan. So anyone that knows Chris
Yeah.
will know that he's not an internet troll. He's not somebody that piles on players. He's very supportive of players in the game at all levels. And he says about Tiber, I love the guy, but I can't understand how he's a key starter in this team. He's been a squad player on lesser teams.
Yeah, that's fair.
And you look around MLS as well and you would say, what other teams would Tybert be a starter in? It's hard to think of ones. And the only club that I know that's ever shown any interest in him, and there might be others that we don't know about, Minnesota made a play for him a few years back. And it came to nothing. That was a mid-season thing. When August they inquired, would he be available? But I don't see another MLS team saying, oh, he's a guy that we want. He is a good squad player. He's a guy that you're down to the bare bones, or you've got an injury and he's come off the bench. You know what you're going to get from him. He's hard working, but he doesn't have that quality.
Yeah.
And there's a few Whitecaps players now that I'm feeling that about in this current squad.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I think the whole structure of him, or the setup of him being captain, doesn't help that, right?
Yeah.
Whether it's the football understanding of captain or the North American understanding of captain, even I forget what that game, I forget which game it was, where he didn't start, and then he came on the pitch and Gold gave him the armband. It was kind of like just a little bit awkward.
Well, Oz Sweeney on the captaincy thing says, what's our captain doing? In a must-win game with season on the line, this isn't acceptable. Where's the accountability on the pitch? Where's the team's leadership amongst the players?
Yeah, that sounds like a valid criticism to me. But hey, maybe it's all just happening under a bridge with the trolls.
Possibly. It's there's other players as well, but defensively, and I was going to talk about this on the show anyway, but we've actually just had a tweet from Simon Fudge, our good friend. Hope he's enjoying life in Qatar. It's going to be a very busy couple of months for him coming up soon. He says, would you please talk about the need for this Whitecaps backline to be overhauled? A lot of dead wood there. And
yeah, he's been talking about this for a while.
Yeah, he's bang on, because I think I've come to the end of the road with Ranko.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I
think he said that too, I think, recently. Simon, that is.
I've always had high hopes for him, and I've always felt he's played better when he's been beside like a Godoy or an experienced guy. I just think he makes too many mistakes, and I don't know that he is MLS quality to be a regular starter.
I don't think that's totally unfair criticism, but I think there's so many variables to this and so many moving parts. I think he could still be a meaningful player for them. I think there's other questions that I would ask first.
Oh, yes,
no, but I mean about defense specifically. Like, I think the Russell Tybert thing is a huge thing, because as we talked about with Steve over the years, who you have in front of the back line, I think has really helped or hindered them over the years, and it's been a long time since they have that help. And now it seems like they have that player in Kubas that can help them, but the midfield's not helped, I think, when you have Russell play with him. That needs to be a Shap or maybe a
But
Berhalter
they
or
seem they
something.
want Schopf to play
Move forward.
more in a forward role.
I think he needs to play next to Kubas. But
Yeah.
so I think that's one of the things that I think doesn't help a player like Arenko, right? Having Rusty there doesn't help Arenko. Another thing, which is again probably a way bigger conversation, probably, but is and even though they played it from the better part of the last year and a half, 2 years, is a back three really the best for the players that they have? Especially when you just when you fail to get the best out of the best left wing back you have, and then kind of he's frozen out or gone or whatever.
That still is a baffling one to me as to what's happened there with Christian Gutierrez.
But so Ranko, you might be right, and he might not be at this level or suited to this level. But to me, I have too many other questions about how he would perform in let's say a more optimal setup.
Like a flat back four beside an experienced centre back.
Yeah, flat back forward. Yeah, besides someone like Godoy, although maybe it could work out. Beside a Tristan Blackman or whatever, but also with the right pairing in front of him.
Yeah, I mean, for me right now, I look at the defenders or who you're going to class as defenders. I think Tristan Blackman's the only guy I would be happy to keep around. I'd be fine if we let Javain Brown go. I'd be fine if we let Ranko go. Jake Nowinski, if we let him go. Godinho.
Javain Brown, I would say you got to have at least one more year of, because it is, there have been elements of the season for him that have felt like that, sophomore slump kind of thing. And again, I think he's also caught up between this whole, am I playing side center back? Am I playing wing back? Even this year, although has maybe been, maybe hasn't been a huge issue for him. I think it is one issue. But yeah, I think I see the validity to, your argument and the comments I've read recently of Simon as well, in terms of having great concern over the back line.
Well, a tweet from Rob Renfrew says, maybe get a coach who isn't in denial about playing three at the back when you don't have three good defenders. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, that's very valid. And I mean, this goes back to MDS, who started, it did start the uptick of the change that happened last year, but the whole putting Jake Nowinski at left center back in a back three, they're reaping what they've sown there, in my opinion.
I mean, there's been a lot of strange personnel decisions under Vanny last year where we questioned it a lot and it all seemed to miraculously work. This year, when things don't go that well, then you start to question it a little bit more. Robert van den Ouden asks, are Cava, Vanny and Hassal back next year? Hassal, I would say yeah. Cava we'll talk about in part 4. Vanny, I would expect to be back. He landed a Canadian Championship, but TVB asks, when will the Whitecaps invest in a real manager? So I do feel that the tide's turning a little bit against Vanny now.
But the Whitecaps have never invested in a top-level manager ever. They have no desire to spend money there.
Carlo Ancelotti's floating about. He loves Vancouver.
Yeah, I don't think he has any desire for that. Remind me, Vanny signed a 2-year deal, right?
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I don't see him with they'll use, unless Axel wants to make shake things up crazily, which would surprise me a little bit. I don't see them letting him go before the end of that contract.
No, I mean, I don't see them doing this shake-up I want in the squad either, because Michael Phillips had said, depending on what the result was tonight, we could either talk about where to stay and eat at possible away game locations for the playoffs, or what the off-season will bring, and if the number of returnee starters is more than 5.
Yeah.
So I would like there to be a big overhaul by Overhaul, and just blow this thing up. But that's not going to happen because they've been patiently building the squad. But to use Simon's words, it does feel there's a lot of dead wood there, and they need to make changes at the back, formation-wise, personnel-wise, or they're just not going to be competitive. And they've got to get a midfield that can protect that defence and can also have creativity and get some players that are consistent scorers. So to me, that's an overhaul.
Yeah, again, I don't think that's totally off the wall.
To quote the last tweet bolded just now from Stephen Kavanagh, I guess this is the end of season special.
Yeah, but at least it's not in April, right? I think
No.
you used to like to do them in April, so
It just kind of felt that way sometimes. I feel they need 5 wins now to make the playoffs. Even that might not be enough. We'll have a look at the weekend's results. We'll have a look at the lie of the land in the West and what that means to the Whitecaps just now as we get down to these last 5 games of this season. We'll be back chatting about all of that after this.
Hi, I'm Ryan Gold, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
You don't want me happy. You want me when I'm sad. You don't want me healthy. You want me when I'm bad. What's
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part, it's the first song for our new Artist of the Month here at AFTN for the month of September from Russia. I've played them on the show over the years before, just the odd song here and there, but we're going to have a full month of their songs. They're called Ice Peak. That is a song released this year from their latest album. It's called Kiss of Death. And they're a fantastic band in Russia because of their anti-war views. You can't get their music there. They can't get the website there. They were one of the bands a few months ago after the war started that I said I was a bit concerned about because there was no social media stuff for them. But I think they've got out of Russia now, but they're donating a lot of money, proceeds from their music to Ukrainian refugees. So, as we said when we played one of their songs before, they're the good Russians. So, go and support them, check them out. Their videos are absolute art house masterpieces. And if you like your gothy music and your gothic imagery and horror stuff, check them out. They're called Ice Peak. And we've got a whole month of songs to come from them. I can tell you're excited, Zach. You'll be watching it all. You'll have Kiss of Death in your head all week.
I don't think so.
I think the Kiss of Death for the Whitecaps was me predicting that they could maybe even get a home playoff game. As soon as it did that, it went downhill pretty quickly. Let's look at the lie of the land in the West after this weekend. The midweek didn't go great for the Whitecaps. The weekend was a mixed bag, but it doesn't help when they don't get 3 points themselves. Minnesota went down to a 3-0 loss at home to Dallas in an amazing spell of a game where the Texans scored 3 goals in a 4-minute spell. It was Whitecaps-esque defending. Started off with a Michael Boxall own goal, but that was a tough one for Minnesota.
Did you have to say that? Did you have to bring that part up?
I did. But Dallas keeping going. I'd said when we did our previews, I thought that they could sneak into the playoffs. Well, they're doing more than sneaking into the playoffs just now. They're sitting in third and looking pretty comfortable in the West right now. But that was a big win for them. Also, a very big and important win for the Whitecaps conquerors last week, Nashville. 3-0 over a side that's impressed me this year in Austin, who have had some good results themselves. They just had a good result against LAFC a couple of games ago. Shocking result for the Whitecaps. Hani Mukhtar, though, what a season he's having. Surely he's going to be the MVP. I think for me it's between probably him and Driussi right now, but Hani Mukhtar, 2 goals in the last 10 minutes to seal Nashville's win.
He'll be the MVP because they'll split the votes between the Italians and Toronto.
Probably.
We never talked about it. You heard how playing a minute in MLS, they tried to bring Insigne into that All-Star skills competition.
Oh, yes. I was away for that. Oh. It's like, hey, folk know who he is.
But he didn't. I don't know if it was because he wasn't fit or had an knock or whatever, but he didn't do it. Anyways, whatever. Sorry.
Yeah, I know.
And Mukhtar, I think, having, like you said, having a great campaign was great.
It was great last year. I mean, we talked last year about, he's a kind of guy you'd kind of want to burst the bank to try and get him here.
He was key in the game.
Yeah, he ran the show in the game at BC Place last weekend. Portland came away with a big 2-1 win against Atlanta. It was a late flurry by Atlanta, but 2 PKs gave Timbers a massive 3 points and a little bit of breathing space, although not that much. Colorado, much like the Whitecaps, I think it was a big wasted opportunity for them. They were playing the worst team in the league, Wayne Rooney's DC United, and I think that's over for the Rapids now. It was a 0-0 draw there. I don't know if you've seen this tonight, because I know you were out tonight, Zach, but do you know what happened in the LA Galaxy Sporting Kansas City game?
Only because you sent me the show notes a little bit, but yeah.
Yeah, so Chicharito opens the scoring early for LA. Then Kansas City rally in the second half. They take the lead 2-1. Johnny Russell gets the first of those. And then LA Galaxy get a penalty. Chicharito buries it to make it 2-2. But then, deep in stoppage time, the Galaxy get another penalty. 97th minute.
And who steps up?
Chicharito. He's on for a hat-trick. The man, you'd bet your house on Chicharito putting that away, getting the Galaxy 3 vital points as they chase the playoffs.
Well, I'm sure if he took a proper penalty, I'm sure he'd bury it, right?
Yeah. The selfish prick, because there's no other words to describe a guy that does this.
Don't tell me he pulled an Ali Adnan?
He pulled an Ali Adnan. But it was even worse, I think, than Ali Adnan's.
Wait. Okay, now I have to see this.
It had no power on it whatsoever. And I think the KC keeper's just like,
Was it Melia?
No, it was the other guy, begins with a P.
Not Melia?
No, let me check his name. John Pulskamp.
Of course. Mm-hmm. The legend.
Yeah. He's stopped Chicharito penalty. I'm having trouble saying Chicharito tonight for some weird reason. But sweet pea is, of course, what Chicharito means. I think he was taking the pea with that penalty kick. Oh, it's horrendous.
Your boy Johnny got one too in the game, right?
Yeah, he did. Yeah. But that could cost the Galaxy a playoff place, because it's cost them 2 points in the game, and you're seriously looking at the table just now and thinking every point is a prisoner.
But they have a game or two in hand on many of the teams above or around them.
But you still have to win those.
No, yeah,
I always like points on the board and games in hand.
Yeah.
But that, for me, it's selfish to do that. That's just your ego has just run wild.
I think again, I haven't watched it, but I think I might like, at least it wasn't the first one. You know what I mean? He stepped on the first one, he missed that way, and then it was more like, I think he's thought, okay, well, I've taken two, I've scored two, whatever. Like, I'm gonna try something different.
Well, he certainly tried something different. I hit a better penalty than that. That's how bad it was. Seattle, they beat Houston 2-1. Second half comeback gave the Sounders the 3 points. Freddie Montero getting the winner. And then LAFC came out 2-0 winners against RSL.
Sorry, he scored one and he missed it second, right? His first goal was a regular goal.
Yeah, first goal was a regular
goal. Sorry, yeah.
Chicharito, yeah. So the standings in the West, so far only one team has clinched that spot in the postseason. That is LAFC. They're leading the way by 9, 60 points from their 29 games. Austin, 51 points from their 29 games. Dallas in third, 46 from 30. And Nashville now sitting in fourth, 45 from 30. That could have been the Whitecaps. A win over Nashville, a win over San Jose. That's the Whitecaps sitting there in fourth. But if the Queen had balls, she'd be the king.
Just like you had dreams about. Hey,
I had dreams about the Queen having balls.
No, I know you like to keep it to the West, but
we'll come to the East.
Oh,
we'll talk a little bit about these. I want to finish the West first.
Oh, sorry.
The other three teams that is making up the playoff places in the West: Minnesota, 44 points from 29. Salt Lake still hanging in there, 42 from 29. And Portland, 42 from 30. So yeah, the Galaxy's in 8th. They do have 2 games in hand, but they're 3 points behind Portland just now. But when you're 2 games in hand, and all of a sudden you're sitting in 6th place. Actually, when you're 2 games in hand, and all of a sudden you could be 4th or 5th, depending on stuff. Seattle. Is history going to be made, Zach? Is this going to be the year Seattle do not make the postseason?
Even though things don't look great for them either, I can still see them making the playoffs. I'm not saying I want them to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I did until I think just that defeat to Portland, I think, was possibly a nail in their coffin.
Yeah, that was not good for them.
I mean, right now they're sitting 6 points back of Portland. They do have a game in hand, but I mean, what goes for Seattle is they've got a game against the Whitecaps at BC Place, so there's 3 easy points for them. But I think this could be the year that Seattle miss out, and if they do miss out, I think Schmitzer's gone.
Wait, remind me. This is the year we're in, right? 2022, where they won the CONCACAF Champions League, right?
Mm-hmm.
They're not going to fire him in that year, man.
Hey, I'd fire him. I'd fire Vanny as well. Greg Vanny. Just to stress. I'll be honest, my jury's out on the other Vanny. I want to see how we finish these 5 games. Time away gives you time to reflect.
Okay, can I just mention one thing about the East?
No, I'm still doing the West.
Oh, sorry.
I don't think any team's been officially eliminated, actually, from the playoffs. No, they haven't.
No.
But, yeah, Seattle's 9th and 36. Vancouver's 10th and 34. We're done. We're toast. We're not doing it. We're 8 points behind. You look at who's above, and the fact that Galaxy do have 2 games in hand. We've got to run out the games, which I don't think we will. But we'll come with what games we've got left. You're eager to talk about the East.
Okay, I don't want to talk about it in great detail. All I want to say is this: if you have not seen today's Canadian Classique,
which I haven't because I was watching AEW All Out.
Yeah, you need to find this game and watch it, whether it's a replay on TSN or whatever. This was, I didn't know, I didn't watch this either. The reason I knew it was going to be something interesting was because I saw Kai Kamara's post on Instagram of post-match celebrations in the locker room. I knew, I was like, oh, they're really excited about this victory I think they have today, but why? Anyways, it is. I mean, the first half is even more so than the second half, but it is, man, yeah, it is just so. It was so intriguing and so interesting, with big goals, big moments, big names, massive. I mean, significant pieces of the Canadian men's national team. Yeah, it was, and then of course Kai Kamara. So.
Well, I mean, it was a big win for Montreal. It's put them second, or cemented them in second in the East. They've got a 5-point gap now on Red Bulls in third. I think they just need one more win, and they've clinched their playoff space. So spot.
Yeah, they haven't clinched yet, right? I don't think.
It's very. There's still some teams that's got some games in hand. For Toronto, I mean, they're still just 4 points under the line, but they only have 4 games left. So today was massive for them.
Yeah.
They needed to get 3 points from that.
And well, I mean, watch the game, but they could have.
Well, I mean, you look at the teams just now that's outside, like Atlanta, again, I thought they would have turned things around this year and got back in it, but I mean, they're below Toronto in the East. Philadelphia, a Philadelphia LAFC or a Philadelphia Austin MLS Cup, I think would be a highly entertaining game. But I wouldn't be writing Montreal off yet. I could see them making the final. They've got that swagger just now. They're playing some really nice football.
If they play the resilient way they did today, yeah, you wouldn't want to bet against them, and you wouldn't want to count them out.
And Orlando sitting in 5th.
Yeah, I don't like them.
Cincinnati, though, they could still overtake New England. I don't think they will. I think they've kind of, every dog's had its day. I think they've had theirs, but yeah, it's interesting in the East. For me, the West is still by far the stronger conference. It's just so tight in there, and if we look at what all this means for the Whitecaps, I mean, if I want to be blunt, I think they're fucked. But there's 5 games left. They're away to Colorado next Saturday. Must-win game. I think we've said that nearly every week for the past month. Then midweek after that, they're at home to the Galaxy, which again would be a must-win game because the Galaxy is one of the teams above you. Then Seattle come to town on the 17th. Then they're at home to Austin. Then they're away to Minnesota, with a little bit of a gap as well for the international break. But you've got a game on the road against a team that's below you, albeit in altitude. And then you've got 3 games at home. Now, normally you'd be like, oh, great, this gives us a shot. But the way that this home form's been, I just don't fancy the chances at all.
No, I don't. I don't fancy them either, Michael. And yeah, it would be shocking if they got anywhere near that 7th spot at this point.
Yeah. Well, I mean, if they had somebody that they could rely on to put the ball in the back of the net, that might help them, might get them over the line in these 5 games. If only we had a designated player striker. But he's missing. He missed tonight. How many more games is he going to miss? Yes, it's finally time for us to chat about Cava, and we'll be doing that in the next part after this.
I'm Tristan Blackman, and this is the AFTN Soccer Show.
Come on! Лапы. Красиво ходят ночью по проспекту, а их сердца полны горячей лавы. желаний всех моих широкий спектр. Ау, я люблю шалап, шалап и май лав. Я люблю шалап, шалап и май лав. Комман, я люблю шалап, шалап и май лав. Я люблю шалап, шалап и май лав.
Welcome back to the final part of this episode of the AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. And kicking off this part is an unusual song. It's by another Russian band. They're a folk punk band called Leningrad. That's a song from 2020. It's called Slappers in the English version of it, translation of it. And I'd never heard this song in my life, but I was at one of the Fringe shows, a English comedian called Tim Key. Some of you might know him from shows like Witchfinder, and he's been in a number of comedy shows over the years. Cats Does Countdown, he's been on that, stuff like that as well. So before his show, he had some really fun music playing, and one of them was this song Leningrad, Slappers, and I had no idea what the song was because it's in Russian. So I used the Shazam app, and I was so impressed. Within 3 seconds, they managed to tell me what the song was, and I've had it in my head constantly for the last 2.5 weeks since I saw the show. So I thought I would play it for you, and it's now hopefully going to be in your head as well. I think it's very catchy.
In your head, in your
head,
zombie.
What do you think's in Cava's head?
Well, Michael,
What goes through his head?
I've heard some people talk about this in the past.
Yes, I've saved the best to last. I so wanted to do a show last week when I got back, but my sleep's been all over the place. We were going to do one on Tuesday, but I was just absolutely knackered and falling asleep at like 9 o'clock. Then we're going to do one on Thursday after I did my UBC game, and then it got a bit too late for that. So I've wanted to talk about this since I woke up last Sunday and saw the incident. It was an absolutely shocking sending off against Nashville. It was just ridiculous. There's not been a decision made yet. He missed the game tonight in San Jose, automatic red card, automatic suspension. But what MLS do a lot is when it's a more lengthy suspension, they don't announce it until before the next game that he would have played. And when the disco report came out this week and I saw he wasn't on it, I thought, oh, that's what's going to happen. And then Har wrote an article. She spoke to Ranko about it because Cava didn't want to talk about things too much, and the club wouldn't comment too much as well. But the expectation at the club is that he's facing a 4-match ban. I think it could potentially be 5, looking at the letter of the law and what it might get classed as violent conduct, etc., etc. So he has served the first against San Jose. Now, in 61 MLS regular season appearances with the Whitecaps, Cava has scored 17 goals and got 3 assists. Not fantastic return, but decent enough. It's almost a goal won every 3 games. In those games, though, he's managed to pick up 21 yellow cards and a pair of red cards. What did you make of the incident against Nashville? Do you think it was deliberate that he's stamped on the neck?
Yeah. I mean, I think his words even after speak to like it wasn't an accident. It was, hey, like I saw the red mist and I behaved poorly. So no, like to me, it was totally deliberate. I mean, the thing that's kind of crazy to me though is like it was him shoving the player to the ground, and then, like it wasn't like the guy was down. He's like, "Oh, I'm gonna," it was like him getting him twice. So it was
Yeah,
like,
I love when they showed the replay and the Thiessen guys are going, "Oh, I don't know what that would be a red card." Oh, yeah, that's why.
yeah, exactly. So he shoves him to the ground, and then he chooses to step on his opponent. Like
Yeah.
it's pretty horrific. Like,
You
yeah.
do that in the street and you're in court.
Well, I mean, okay, that is true, but I think we have to look at this in the context of a football match, right? Like, whatever they choose to give him, I don't think it can be too much. Almost,
Yeah.
like if it's 4, if it's 5, like that's not too much. I mean that's it's pretty heinous.
Oh, it is. Let me read Cava's words. I let my emotions get the better of me. I want to apologise to my teammates, my coach, and most importantly to you, the fans and supporters. I have high expectations of myself. I am a passionate player, and I recognise I need to stay on the pitch to be the best help my teammates. Oh no, sorry, that was what he said in 2020 when he trailed his foot over Clement Diop. His 2022 version is, I regret everything I did. I haven't been sleeping since what happened. I apologise for letting my teammates down, the club, the fans. You guys have been great with me and everyone has been supportive. I hate to do things like this and just let the emotions get the worst out of me. If that is the case, he's genuinely, I'm not being funny here, he needs help.
Well, I can't remember if we talked about this on the show or just privately, you and I, but people closer to the squad than you and I will ever be have told me that they just don't think that he is a very intelligent footballer. Like, not speaking about him as a person or whatever, but like he and yeah, like this is another sign that he it's almost like childlike.
Yeah,
Like,
but I mean, if he's saying, I hate to do things like this, it means he can't control himself.
Yeah.
So if you can't control yourself, you need to go and get help.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, these words feel like a lame excuse for someone like.
Well, he goes on and says, the frustration kicked in. He'd only been on the pitch since half time. But the frustration kicked in. Sometimes people get mad. It's not an excuse to do stupid things like this. You don't think, and that's what happened. I regret every single second of what happened.
Yeah,
I don't think.
Yeah, you don't think that. That sums up what a number of people have told me.
For me, he's out of chances now. He's just got to go. They've got to. He's missing. If we say it's 4, he's missing 4 games at the most crucial part of the season where you need him the most on the team because your other striker is out of form. And this is when you need your designated player. And if you can't rely on him to be playing in games, like we talked enough about Eric Godoy, well, we can't rely on him to be fit and healthy and play the games that we need for an important player, so he needs to go. The same works for this. If we can't rely on him to be on the pitch when you need him the most, and you can't rely on him to control his emotions and control his actions, you've got to cut him loose. If he doesn't play in a Whitecaps jersey again, I don't care. If it's a 4-game ban and he could have played the last 2 games, I wouldn't play him. For me, that's it. He's done. He's out of chances. He needs to go.
Yeah, I wonder if it'll only be if they're fully eliminated by that point that they choose to make that decision. But
yeah, I would think if they're still in it with the last 2 games, it's all hands on deck.
Yeah, but I mean, you're right. I don't think your perspective is without merit, and so yeah, it's hard to Yeah, there's no excuses for what he's done, and he if that's his last contribution as a Vancouver Whitecap, I don't think too many people would be disappointed to see him go.
He
The thing is,
doesn't.
does he have another year, or is it an option year?
It's an option year, is my understanding.
They're in a bad spot because they'd have to they have to take the option to move him to get anything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
they're not going to let him go for nothing.
no. Oh, they shouldn't either because they've paid money for him. I mean, it's where he's going to go. But the thing is, he's doing these things when he's trying to get himself to a World Cup. Can you imagine if he did something like that at a World Cup?
Oh, yeah.
And I genuinely can't remember who the Nashville player was, but he is really lucky and fortunate that he did not cause a serious injury to him.
I think it was Mule.
Yeah. Kicks like a mule. But yeah, he's fortunate that he didn't like sever an artery in his neck or something, or it's so stupid. And the fact that he basically is admitting he can't control himself. And I like aggressive players. I've talked about that a lot. I like players with an edge. And there's an edge and there's crossing that line. And to me, that just is unacceptable.
Well, and the fact that, forget about the Vancouver Whitecaps, we all know his number one priority in life is to get to that World Cup.
Yeah.
Regardless of what happens with the Whitecaps, that's what he wants the most, which is understandable on one level.
I mean, if you're John Herdman watching that, what goes through your mind?
Well,
You've already lost your son to New Zealand.
That's the thing. It's a double-edged sword for Cava, right? Because not only does he look like incredibly foolish, but then now he's also might not be playing another competitive match until potentially he's with Canada, right? Like, so there's multiple layers, because he's going to be, if he has one or two games left in the season, he's going to be fighting and telling him, I need to play. You have to play me. I need to play, even if the season's over. So there's a few different layers to this, and it'll be interesting to see how it all plays out. But yeah, I wonder what John Herdman has been thinking over the last week or so.
I mean, over the last couple of years in this season, it's like we've made light of all the bookings he gets, and when we're watching the games up in the press box, we have a little sweep. Oh, what minute do you think Cava's going to get his yellow card today and stuff? And it's all fun and games until someone loses an eye, which Mule's lucky that he didn't lose one last week, I guess. But you know what he's going to be like, and you know what you get with him, but it's got to the stage now that it's just a massive liability. And what the Whitecaps need is reliability.
Absolutely. Yep.
It's just bad. That's pretty much it for the show. We'll just finish with a little bit of chat about the CPL and this week's wavelength. We touched on it at the start. Zach, you were over for the Pacific game, connecting with some old friends and stuff on the island, and I've not made it over at all to the island so far this season. I'm not sure I'll actually get to, but
you could get there for a playoff match. Oh wait,
well, it still could. Looking at the table, a challenge, but looking at the table, because right now Pacific have dropped out the top four.
Exactly,
and that's crazy. They've still got a game in hand. So, looking at the table, Atletico Ottawa, who's been struggling a little bit in the last couple of games, they've been dropping points here and there, but they're still out on top, 40 points from their 23s. They've 5 games left. Cavalry in second, 37 from their 22. Forge third, 36 from their 22. And all the teams just now have been kind of dropping points and not looking like it's not the Forge of old. I think it's safe to say over the last couple of weeks. But Phil DeSantis' Valor has made a really strong run, and they've got up to fourth now, 36 points. I fancied them to get into the top 4 when we did our pre-season show, I didn't think Ottawa would be up there. I thought it'd be Cavalry, Forge, Pacific, and Valor. But now Pacific's got a fight for their lives. The other three are out of it. It's great that we at least have this fight, because I was a bit worried it was going to be a 4 we're going to pull away with a few games to go, and that would have been terrible for the league. But this is going to be so exciting to watch down the stretch.
Oh yeah, Saturday's game was a fun game to watch. There was a Bustos penalty attempt or bicycle kick attempt right in front of us. There was a nice goal for the home side, and then they were the better team in the first half, and then halftime came, and I had a brief word with James Merriman after the game, and he I won't quote him, but he could not believe the way the team played in the second half. Let's put it that way. That's the nice way of saying it.
Were there some expletives in there?
Yeah, there was. And
that's good, because I think he deserved to throw those out. I can't believe how they played. Well, I didn't see the first half. I only saw the second. And
York
I turned it on and it was like, they're 1-0 up.
I didn't get to see Marty, unfortunately, but they were great. And York was great in the second half and scored goals. And I think if VAR was there, they would have had more goals.
Because remember as well, York went to Pacific and basically screwed them over for home field advantage last season.
I was saying that as we were sitting there watching the game.
Have they screwed them over this year for an actual playoff place?
It was the playoff place playoff home game last year, and it was the Voyageurs Cup this year, and now this again. Yeah, it was. But they played York played really, really, really well in the second half.
Do you look at the fixtures that Pacific have left, and they've got Forge twice, so that's massive. They've got Cavalry, they've got Ottawa, so there's 4 tough games, and then Halifax and Edmonton. You'd hope they can take wins from that. Is it a case? I mean, obviously you've lost a great scorer, but has this Champions League run derailed them a bit?
Yeah, I think like we're talking about Seattle and MLS, I think the Champions League, playing in CONCACAF, where there's Champions League or the league, takes a lot out of you mentally, obviously physically. It takes something out of you. So the 4 games they played in there might not sound like a lot, but it has taken its toll, and you're seeing that, I think, in the standings. Now, will they be able to rebound and finish the season well in the playoffs and potentially with a home date? Yeah, they could, but it's the clock's ticking.
I mean, I'm looking at Valor's remaining 5 fixtures, and 3 of those again are against teams that's not in the top 4. Yeah. So, I mean, they're going to be licking their chops. If Pacific don't make the playoffs, is James Merriman's neck on the line?
Oh, that's a good question. I would guess not so much. Knowing a little bit about how Pacific operate and their goals, he's not a Michael Silverbow, right? Like, this is someone heavily tied to the community, who was a big part of the first 3 years as an assistant, and
it was always the succession planning.
Yeah, always. Yeah, he was always going to be the coach one day. So I think it would be, even if they came, 5th or 6th or whatever, or I guess 5th, just outside. I don't think that's enough to get rid of him.
I don't either. I would hope it wouldn't be, with what he's done there, and it has been a difficult season for them. It does maybe throw up a lot of questions, though, about recruitment and just across the board, really. Recruitment's so weird in the CPL. They lost a lot of players to Forge. Forge themselves looked such a strong team, but they haven't really gelled at times, it feels, as a team.
Yeah.
But yeah,
and Ottawa's taking advantage of that.
Oh yeah, Ottawa's really gelled well as a team.
I did watch the Ottawa Edmonton game the other day. the day before.
Oh, was that 0-0?
Oh, it was a horrible game.
I didn't see that.
It was like one of the worst CPL games I think I've ever watched. It was really
I'm
bad.
watching less CPL now that I got rid of One Soccer and I've got football.
Same.
Because
Same.
I liked it on Telus on the PVR because I could just PVR it and then just fast forward through. And
some people might be shocked at this, but I liked the interface of One Soccer better than football.
I'm getting used to the football one. They are making little improvements and tweaks.
It's just like I record stuff and then I forget that I have recorded it, and like, yeah, I wish it was just like, I don't know, that they were there and you could go back and like, I mean, I really enjoyed DAZN, right? How DAZN, the interface on DAZN, for whatever you think of its options and its price and whatever, the interface to me is by far the best. So.
Yeah. The good thing I would say, if anyone is travelling, I used my VPN with football when I was over in Scotland. It worked a treat, so it was great. Got to watch some of the Premier games and stuff, and so I mean it does work. And I've not had any streaming issues at all with football, but I'm not a big fan of the streaming apps. I just like things that I can PVR and then just watch at my leisure. And I know you can record, but it doesn't feel the same.
Well, maybe if One Soccer wins their fight with Rogers or whatever, their lawsuit with Rogers, it'll be more available on people's TVs in the years ahead. The other crappy thing about that game, 0-0, is I can only watch it in like 270. The only I was watching it online I was watching with a friend online on their One Soccer, like with them on their One Soccer account, and it was only available for some reason on 270, so it was a little bit blurry. Wow. So I ended up multitasking, which made it less horrendous. But
even East 5 TVs at 1080. I come across crystal clear in it. It's fantastic. Highly recommended. The CPL season, it's going to be a very exciting run-in, so check that out on Fubo or One Soccer if you've got either of those. That's nearly it for this episode of the show, but we've got to finish, of course, with this week's Wavelength. And I've gone with a Scottish band. They're from Glasgow. This is a song from 2010. It's taken from their debut album, Boots Met My Face. They're a band called Admiral Fallow. I didn't really know too much about them, but I saw them at the Connect Festival that was at last Sunday while I was waiting for Mogwai. They were a good band, and then I found out they've got a song called Subutio. And it's a little bit about playing Subutio and just childhood memories, but it's ultimately about just remembering getting beaten up as a kid. But it does talk about Subutio, so let's hear from them now. Admiral Fallow with Subutio.
Hello, my chum, it's me and I'm banging on your door. And it's been far too long since we set the leaves alight down on the floor. I've returned for a while to the concrete that once claimed my knees. Stones my hands owned as I sent them toward windows and trees. Towering trees, towering trees. There are bangers in the wheelie bins, laser pens shone through the glass. BB after BB fired from behind the wall beyond the grass. And though boots met my face and knuckles cracked me black as coal, I care not for the mindless who poked fear at my sorry soul. My soul, my soul. on the roof, the pit stop paths and rustling stream. And I miss the cold stream chips, the reds, the Beauty-O team painted green. Built on backfield that seemed a thorn in my child's side, instead became a grit-soaked playground where the propers and the poor collide. Oh, and it might sound dull, but dull's sometimes all we have. Yet might sound dull, but dull's all we ever have. Sometimes I talk with the meter of a bingo caller's East End drawl. Who cares? We're all just trying to float while everything seems set to fall. So hard, so hard.
Admiral Fallow there, Subutio from 2010, their Boots Met My Face album. It's maybe a little bit tenuous for wavelength, but it talks about Subutio, so we're going to go with that. It's memories of my trip back home. I had a good time, all things considered, back in Scotland. Such a long flight though, and I'm glad to be home. And yes, I'm referring to Vancouver as home. That every time I go back and the time passes, it feels a bit different going back. I did get to play at the old course on the putting green. But yeah, their famous putting green is the Himalayas, so I got to play on that. I got 2 holes in 1. I got a thumbs up from a proper golfer. That was one of the highlights of my trip. But that is pretty much it for this episode. Any final thoughts, Zach? Anything that you've learned this week? Any shout-outs that you want to give?
Well, of course, I want to give a shout-out to Steve on the boat. Come home safely, Steve. No, you can find me on Twitter at ZacharyAM. And I do actually I want to give more of a serious shout-out. And this, I know you were talking about you went home to Scotland because of your mom's passing. This is a little bit similar. Over the years, made a lot of good connections in the different communities where we've watched a lot of football. One of my least favorite clubs, or if not least favorite club, of course, over the years has been the one found in Middle Cascadia. Having said that, I've met some really great people there over the years, and so I think it was just last night. One of them, also their mom, also passed away. So some people maybe who been in the community for a while will know, but there's a gentleman named Keith who used to be one of the heads of ECS down in Seattle. And he posted today that his mom passed away suddenly in the middle of the night last night. And they're remembering her at the game a little bit tonight, and him and his family and supporters who knew her as someone obviously who was also intertwined in the community there. So just, thoughts and prayers with Keith and his family as they mourn and grieve in the days and weeks ahead.
Yeah, I would echo that. When I was back in Scotland, one of our longtime friends at East Fife, his brother passed away as well, after being missing for a week as well. So that was sad. They had a minute's silence for him yesterday that was well observed as well by everyone at the club. And yeah, it's sad. Football can bring so many folk together at times like that as well. But football can also give you all the happy memories. And when I think back to my mum, she was always so supportive of me starting the fanzine when I did it, and she even helped sell it and staple it and put it all together with me and stuff like that. And she would have just been very happy with everything how AFTN has developed and podcast and commentating and everything like that as well. So it was nice to get back, seeing some friends as well and getting to the East Fife games. But back here now, back in the full swing of things, doing our UBC commentary. We got our first UBC games of this season under our belt on Thursday. The women came away with a big 4-0 win in that. Going to be bringing out an extra podcast this week. I know the extra subscribers haven't had a podcast for a few weeks, so going to bring a kind of college and women's soccer one out midweek for that. We were speaking to Jessie Simons after the match, so watch for that to drop. We'll be back with another AFTN Soccer Show next weekend, maybe even with Steve, who knows. But until next time, as always, thanks for listening. Thanks for supporting the site and the podcast. Take care, and mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.